Hello friends, this is Gangadhar from the channel Maths Ganga. This is the question asked in Advanced 2018 Paper 1 from Complex Numbers. This is a more than one answer type question. The question looks somewhat difficult, but it's a very easy question depending on the argument of the complex number. Argument of the complex number is in the range of minus pi, open minus pi to the closed pi. And depending on that, we have four options. We need to identify an option which is false. We need to identify the false option. Okay, be careful for these type of questions. Sometimes they may ask us the true statements, sometimes they may ask us the false statements. So we need to mark up the false statements among these four depending on the argument of the complex number. Initially, argument of the complex number. So what is the argument of the complex number? If Z is a non-zero complex number, then its argument is defined like this. For suppose, if have a point corresponding to Z somewhere here, then angle between the line joining origin to the point in the anti-clockwise direction is mentioned as the argument of the complex number. Depending on this, we are going to answer the questions. See, if the complex number Z is some a plus ib, then the point corresponding to the complex number is some p a comma b. And depending on the values of a and b, we can locate point in different quadrants, and as per the quadrant, the angle will change in the anti-clockwise direction. And if you look, the first option is given like this. Argument of minus 1 minus I. The point corresponding to minus 1 minus I is minus 1 comma minus 1. And this point, x is negative and y is negative. This point lies in which quadrant? This point lies in third quadrant. X and y both are negative. In third quadrant, if you observe that what is the range of angles? If you move in the anti-clockwise direction, if you move in the clockwise direction, this is minus pi by 2 and this is minus pi. So for a point which is in the third quadrant, its argument is in between minus pi to minus pi by 2, but it is given as minus pi by 4 actually, or pi by 4, which is clearly a false statement. So the argument must be in between minus pi by 2 to minus pi if the point is there in third quadrant, but it is not given in that range. So option A is a false statement and it is our required option. The statement is false, but we need to mark that one because we need to mark the false options. So 1 is one of the option. Option A is one of the required option. Then coming to the second statement. See, this is the false statement. Whereas coming to the second statement, it is given that f is a function and the function is defined such that f of t is equals to argument of minus 1 plus it. Right. For t belongs to R. For different real values of t, we need to locate argument of all the points. Okay. If you change t, we will get different complex numbers. And for all those complex numbers, we need to calculate argument and that t is related to that argument. Whether this function, they mention here that this function is continuous at all points. We need to check whether it is continuous at all points or not. So for that, first of all, we need to concentrate on the point minus 1 plus it. See, minus 1 plus it. T is a real number. It may be any real number. So if you look here, minus 1 is fixed, the x is fixed. So if you look at all the points, if you treat this as x and y axis, minus 1 plus it. Somewhere we have minus 1 here. Okay. And this is the line for which is x is equals to minus 1. If you take any point on this line, for all the points which are on this line, the points are minus 1 comma some t. So for different values of t, all the possible complex numbers are the points on this line. Okay. We need to calculate arguments for all these points. If t is positive, then its argument is dependent on the points which are on the above x-axis, and if t is negative, These are the points and the argument is corresponding to this one. See, if you suppose take a point here, okay, then we are going to calculate its argument. Take a point here. To calculate its argument, if this angle is some theta, then what is its argument? This is the argument actually. So what will be the argument? The argument is, this is theta, and the argument is, see, 180 minus theta. Pi minus theta is the argument. But what is t? Since this point is minus 1 plus it, okay, this length is 1, whereas this length is t, that theta is tan inverse t. So this argument is pi minus tan inverse t. As for the measurements, this is 1 and this is t. This theta is tan inverse t, and here the argument is pi minus tan inverse t. And in the same way, if you have a point here, again this length is t and this length is 1 and the theta is tan inverse t, then its argument is we need to calculate in anti-clockwise direction. Okay, see, since the total angle is minus pi, okay, we need to subtract the theta from there. See, then this argument is minus pi minus tan inverse of t. Okay, so here theta is tan inverse t, here also if you took it as theta is tan inverse of t, right? So if a point is there, if t is positive, all the positive points are above x-axis. For all the points, for all these points, the argument is pi minus tan inverse t. For all these points, the argument is minus pi minus tan inverse t. So finally, we define the function argument of minus 1 plus it for all t belongs to R in two cases. In one case for t positive, in the other case for t negative. If t is positive, it is defined as pi minus tan inverse of t. And if t is negative, this is defined as minus pi minus tan inverse of t. We need to check whether it is continuous at all points or not. If you look at 0, for 0 positive, the argument is pi, and for 0 negative, the argument will be minus pi. See, this is pi minus tan inverse t for t greater than or equals to 0, and this is minus pi minus tan inverse t for t less than 0. For continuity, if you check, the right hand limit is pi, whereas the left hand limit is minus pi. Since those two are not equal, so this is not continuous at all points. So this is also a false statement. So we need to mark this option also, right? Then coming to the option C. Option C is a direct question. Usually we have that in different formula list. It is given that argument of Z1 by Z2 minus argument of Z1 plus Z2. So we have a direct formula that argument of Z1 by Z2 is nothing but argument of Z1 minus argument of Z2 plus 2n pi. So if you replace argument of Z1 by Z2 is this one, minus arg Z1 plus arg Z2 get cancelled and you left with 2n pi. So it's a multiple of 2 pi. So this option C is a true statement. Since this is true statement, we need false statements. So we don't need to mark option C for our choice. Then coming to the fourth statement, D. Locus of Z. See, the locus of Z satisfying this condition is mentioned as straight line. We need to check whether it is true or not. See, argument of the product of two complex numbers is pi. So this is nothing but, as mentioned, that argument of Z minus Z1 by Z minus Z3 plus argument of Z2 minus Z3 by Z2 minus Z1 is pi. So argument of Z1 Z2 product is nothing but arg Z1 plus arg Z2. If you look this one, this is nothing but angle made by Z1 Z3 at Z, and this is nothing but angle made by Z1 Z3 at Z2. Somewhere if you look at 2 points, okay, one is Z1 and the other is Z3, angle made by Z1 Z3 at Z. So suppose if you have Z there, this is the angle made by Z1 Z3, okay, and then somewhere we have Z2. So for suppose if you have Z2 here, and this is the angle made by Z2 at Z2 by Z1 Z2. Sum of these two angles is 180. As they mentioned, sum of these two angles is 180. If you consider this Z1, Z3 as a chord of a circle, if you draw a circle, surely this Z1, Z and Z2 both lie on the plan. For all the points related to Z2, if you look at Z, that Z also lies on the circle. Since we have a property that sum of opposite angles of the cyclic quadrilateral is 180, Z is going to satisfy that condition. So the locus of Z with this condition is a circle, but it is given as a straight line, so it is also a false statement. So among the four given options, option A, B and D are false statements. So your option for the question is A, B, D. Okay. So this is a easy question from complex numbers on the argument of the complex number. Thank you.